everybody, it's Abby from Craft Industry Alliance. I hope you are having a fabulous day today. Today is Wednesday, which means that we are doing our member spotlight. We missed last week because, of course, last week we were at H&H Americas, which is an incredible trade show that had its inaugural first year in Chicago, and we had a lot of fun. It was a crazy week. But we are back, and today we're going to be doing a wonderful member spotlight with Treehouse Fiber Arts. Rachel's going to be joining us momentarily to tell us all about her creative business, and I'm very excited to have us today. We get to drop in on one of our members' studios and learn more about their business and all of the cool things that they make and do. Hey, how are you, Rachel?
I'm well. How are you, Abby?
Good. I'm so good. I'm like finally back home after being in Chicago on this kind of whirlwind, but very fun experience. And now I'm like, okay, today I'm just going to respond to all those emails that have been waiting in my inbox. So it's a good day. Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Congratulations on such an amazing show.
Oh, it was so fun. I mean, the best part of it is just talking to everybody and learning about their businesses. But we get to do that every week through our member spotlight. We are just totally thrilled to have you as a member and to learn more about your business. So first, just tell us a little bit about what it is you do, and then maybe we get to see some samples and learn more.
Sure. Well, I'm Rachel, and I am the owner of Treehouse Fiber Arts, which is an online needlework shop. And I came to that pretty organically through actually knitting. Growing up, I watched my entire family with all of their crafts and hobbies. My grandmother did a lot of sewing. She did a lot of quilting, a lot of crochet. My father did shipbuilding and did model railroad. I mean, everyone in my family, I just thought every family was like that. Then I went to high school and college and grad school, and I ended up working full time and really focusing on my career and left all the creativeness aside, really. And I worked for a business consulting firm helping companies around brand management. And I worked for a consulting firm, but I really wanted to own my own business this whole time. I always had that in the back of my mind. I wanted to own my own business. I ended up getting married in my 30s and having kids, and my husband's job had us traveling a bit, so I ended up staying home with my kids, and that allowed me to focus back on my creative side, which I didn't realize how much I missed, so I jumped into knitting. And I jumped into knitting the exact same year that Ravelry was born in 2007. So, yeah, it was perfect timing. My mother-in-law was a big fiber arts person, and she got me onto Ravelry, which, what an amazing place to start. I right away hooked into Ravelry and knew how to load in a project. I could go in there and put in the yarn I had and look for projects, look at what other people had made with that yarn. It was just incredible. So with that knitting, I always had in the back of my mind, I wanted to start some sort of business, but nothing really caught on. I was sewing bags and selling them occasionally, but nothing really caught on. So no business was born yet. And then we moved back to my home state of Michigan. My kids were in school full time, and we had a wonderful local yarn shop. They actually wanted to hire someone, and they hired me. I started there working in the yarn shop, and that was an amazing experience, seeing how a business is run. And they allowed me to do some teaching, which was great. And I feel like my knitting skills really improved, and I felt really confident with knitting. I also started a podcast, and for about 4 or 5 years, I was Treehouse Knits on YouTube and did some super fun projects in the area, went to local farms, did breed studies, learned about different sheep. I just immersed myself into that, and I went from the actual yarn all the way back to the sheep. So I started to learn how to spin, and I got into weaving. I mean, I was a jack of trades, master of none. That is the story of my life. But again, no real business was formed. I was just really enjoying the podcast and the people I was meeting online. Then fast forward to, I guess I would say, COVID. Right before COVID hit, I started stitching. My good friend, Sue Stokes of Legacy Fiber Arts, she was a stitcher. And she was not only running her yarn business or yarn dyeing business, but she was stitching these beautiful things. And I thought, well, I want to try that. I had cross stitched before when I was a teenager, but only one thing. So I bought myself a kit. I found it was hard to get the materials for the kit. I had to go to like 2 or 3 different places to get the materials, but I cross stitched, I loved it, and then I got hooked. And I was still doing the other things as well, but fast forward about a year into it, Sue and I started a podcast. They're called Floss Tubes, and the world of cross stitch, counted cross stitch. It's a very parallel world to the knitting world in that they have works in progress, they have FOs, they have FFOs. It's a fully finished project. And it's just a whole nother world of learning different stitches. And I found a business opportunity in that particular area in creating kits. So my tagline is, I do the work so you can start stitching. I was finding that I had to go to multiple sites to get the ground cloth, to get the various hand-dyed fibers, to get the needles that I wanted. It took too much time. I wanted to just start stitching. So that's how, I hope that wasn't too long, but that's how Treehouse Fiber Arts was born.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many things in there, but one of them is, I mean, kits, as you said, that's how you got started. Kits are the way in for so many people for something new, because you don't have to invest in everything. You don't need to know anything. You get the kit and it's all in one. It's also the way in for a lot of retailers who maybe carry yarn, don't carry cross stitch, for example, yet, and don't necessarily want to invest in yards of Ada and all the other things that you might need, but they can start by carrying kits. And the other good thing about it too is you don't need a ton of expertise among your staff because you just have this one succinct project and that's what you're carrying. So it's the way in for a lot of different sectors to sort of get into a new craft. And as you said, it's a whole other world. I mean, there's Destination Dallas and the National Needlework Show and all these different, there's their own trade shows, there's their own language, as you said, and floss tubes, and it's a whole world. Of course it is once you start to dive in. So, okay, so tell us about your aesthetic. Like, what do these kits look like? If you have some, you can show us so people can understand kind of what they might be getting into.
Yes, well, I wanted to differentiate myself a little bit from going into, say, a big box store where you can buy needlework kits there with DMC, which I personally love DMC, but the kits are pretty basic kits. I don't want to say I kind of am looking for a little finer materials. When you become a maker, you realize it's about the process and you really want to have quality tools, quality materials, because you can be working.
It takes forever to complete.
Exactly.
And so often, again, even in big box stores, that's a starting point too. Like you go in, you don't know anything, you buy this kit there. You realize it's going to take 22 hours to complete this thing. And in the end, it's like plastic and it's like the materials are going to fade in the sun and that kind of thing. And then you start to think, well, where do I get the good stuff? You know?
So my goal is to have my customers have a beautiful experience when they're producing this and that they create something that they feel could be an heirloom quality that they would pass down. Hopefully it's not going to end up at Goodwill, but if it does, maybe there's someone out there that's going to adopt it that loves cross stitch. I don't know, but here's an example. Of course, my knitting kind of, I love sheep. Obviously, I love wool. This is by Plum Street Sampler. As in the knitting world, in cross stitch, there are independent designers who create beautiful designs. Plum Street is one that I love. This is the Wool and Flax Company. So it comes with her pattern, and then I've sourced the Weeks Dye Works, the Classic Color Works. These are all hand-dyed floss. And Gentle Arts is another brand. And then there are some DMCs too. So I've included the floss and the fabric. And then in my shop, you can also choose the floss and the pattern, I should say. And in my shop, you can also choose the fabrics. And Here's an example of a kit. This is a Halloween kit. This is another designer that I absolutely love, Kathy Barrick. I love her style. This is done on linen. I love carrying really nice linen. I personally love stitching on linen. My favorite count is a 36 count linen, and I source my linens from Zweigert in Germany. I love the German linens that come here, and I work with Legacy Fiber Arts. Obviously, Sue, she dipped her toes in the pool of dyeing. Not only does she dye the yarns that a lot of you know, but she dyes beautiful linens now. So a lot of my kits contain her linens, and this one does. This one, I actually not only have the floss, but I made what we call floss tags. That's basically a little cutout, thicker cardstock cards that have a hole that we hang our floss off of when we're stitching. So I've included the tags in there because this is mostly DMC, which you need to prepare before you use it when you're stitching. But I'll take it out. This is some of Sue's gorgeous hand-dyed linens. It's modeled, it's made to look old, and it gives your piece just a little bit more drama. I love being able to also create my own custom Treehouse Fiber Arts conversions. So I'll change some of the colors. I'll do things that I think will make the piece look nicer in my home, or I just, like a little bit better. So I think maybe my customers will appreciate it too in terms of linen or floss. So those are some of the kits. I've got some other. Not only do I have cotton floss kits, but I'm also doing some silk kits. So this is a kit that I have for the holidays. They're little pillows. And I've combined the silk floss from Needlepoint Ink, and it's my own conversion. So the card is in there how to convert it, but it's 8 pillows. And yeah, you can just kind of run with it and make as many as you want. I'm also starting to source different fabrics that are for cross stitchers. I love fabrics. I just started quilting myself, but I'm all about finishing. I don't want people to have their cross stitch finishes just under their bed in a box. I want them to finish things. So, when you finish something, you need some fabrics. So I think those 5-inch and 10-inch, what are they called? Charm packs and cakes. I don't know, can't think of the word, but the 10-inch stacks are perfect for stitchers. They're not overwhelming to use. And a lot of stitchers hand sew their pillows. They don't use a sewing machine necessarily, but there's a lot out there that do all the crafts like we do, Abby.
Yeah.
And this is a Halloween pillow. I'm going to have these in my shop this fall again. Last fall, we did some of these via our podcast, Floss Toss, on YouTube. That's super cute.
Yeah, and those, I think they're called fat eighths that are for the back, so it almost makes it into a square, so it's easier for you to use it in a project. It's 1/8 of a yard, but it's cut as a square. So yeah. That's super cool. And so, so you are contracting with other designers. You're not necessarily doing the design work. You might do some customization when it comes to color and things like that. But you've worked out an arrangement where you're reaching out to a designer and then, like, through licensing or something like that, being able to use their design work in these kits.
No, it's a little different in the cross-stitch world. Cross-stitchers actually work with distributors or by themselves to sell their particular designs. So I work with a couple of different distributors to purchase designs. And once I purchase the design, I can be like a needlework shop, and you'd go into a needlework shop and you'd ask the owner, can you get the floss for me for these different designs, and I just put them together.
So you're essentially like an online retailer. So you're buying through distributors, you're sourcing the different fabrics and threads and other things that you need, and then putting together the kits the same way that a brick and mortar retailer would buy a pattern and then kit it for their store.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
And I'm trying to
interesting to understand the business model, just for folks who might be like, hey, I want to do something similar to that, but how does it all work on the back end, So that's good to know.
Yeah, and I'm always grappling with, as an online business, you think of online as places where you can just buy everything, and you think of brick and mortar as the relationship place. And I'm kind of, because of my floss tube and because
Right.
of it's really about relationships. I love my customers and I really get to know my customers. My customers are repeat customers, and it's a small group of people that come to me time and time again, and they watch our YouTube channel. They, so it's, it's all about relationships for my small business.
Yeah,
It's a different
absolutely.
model.
Right. I think it's sometimes people think of e-commerce as this sort of big bad player out there that's like trying to take away brick and mortar. But in this context, and in so many ones similar to yours, an e-commerce shop is literally a mom and pop shop. It's one person, maybe one or two people, and it is a very small business that's very personal. And I think adding that YouTube or live video is such an important component, because then people have a chance to see you and talk to you and get to know you and understand that they're not buying from Amazon. It's different from buying from some big giant corporation. You're actually buying from somebody just like you, who has a business and loves what they do. And so that's why, that's a big part of our industry now, is small e-commerce shops, or even a little bit bigger e-commerce shops, but that are independently owned.
Absolutely. And I keep coming back to COVID, but it really showed me that there's so many people out there that are not close to a local yarn shop or a local needlework shop, and they really rely on buying off the internet, and they can't see things, they can't touch and feel things, so they are looking for somebody that they trust that can do that for them. So if they like my aesthetic and they enjoy hanging out with me and Sue on Floss Toss, and like the work I'm doing, then they'll feel more comfortable coming to my store and working with me. So it's been really wonderful. Again, my customers are incredible. They're so patient, and it's just it's like this too in the yarn world. I've never met a customer base that's so patient and caring and loving. I get emails if I have a problem. Inevitably you're going to have a problem with shipping or something, and people will write me and say things like, "I'm so sorry to bother you, but I haven't gotten," no, you're not bothering me. That's my job to make it right with you, but it's just.
And absolutely. Crafters are the best people. Do you feel that some of your experience in your former career, it sounded like you were doing business consulting around brand management. So I just was curious whether any of that experience has helped you launching this independent business.
Huge. Yes. I worked for a firm where we would go in and we would identify through focus groups what our clients' customers expected of them in terms of customer service. And then we translate those expectations into training for their customer service oriented positions in the company. And it just taught me a process to kind of put myself in the customer's shoes. And I'm a needlework customer, I'm a yarn store customer, so I know what I want, and really create a back end process. I want people to come to my shop and have an experience, and we actually called it the branded customer experience. But I really wanted, in my little shop, I really want an experience when you come to my shop. It feels like you are really getting what you need, and you are, all your expectations are being met. So absolutely, that helped me all along the way, every step.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Okay, so people are going to, after watching this, are going to want to find you and Sue on YouTube, and also are going to want to go buy some kits. Maybe you're settling down, if you are in the Northern Hemisphere, for the summer and want to go do some vacation stitching, or maybe you're gonna get ready to do some holiday shopping. Believe it or not, we are getting closer to that holiday season and want to be able to stitch some ornaments or give a kit as a gift. So tell us both things: where we can find you on YouTube and where we can check out your shop.
Yeah, well, you can find me at www.treehousefiberarts.com. And you can also find me on YouTube. I'm still Treehouse Fiber Arts on YouTube. And you can see all of my 4 years of treehouse knits and learn about all the different sheep breeds and watch all that. But I'm also on Floss Toss on YouTube with Sue. We've been at it for a couple of years now. And on Instagram, I'm Treehouse Fiber Arts. So
Great.
I'm
And
everywhere.
why treehouse? Did you have a treehouse?
We do have a treehouse, and in my newsletter, I often take a picture of the treehouse. When I named it myself Treehouse Knits, I was working in the yarn shop, and people would come in just traumatized about their knitting, and I would just try. Most of my job was therapy, calming them down, saying it's just sticks and yarn. It is not the end of the world. So, when you're a kid and you're up in a treehouse, you're having fun. To me, a treehouse just symbolizes childhood, and it's all about
You're
before
like
you
in the zone, right? The zone of creativity when you're like in the treehouse. So I could see the connection. Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't become an adult yet and had all those worries about, oh, what do they think?
Perfection and
Perfection,
everything else, comparison. And
yeah. Who cares if you fail? It's just sticks and string,
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. I love that name. I think now that we know the backstory, it will definitely stick. So that's very helpful. And this has just been wonderful to learn about your business, Rachel, and to sort of understand, how you got here. So thank you for sharing this with us.
And thank you, Abby. And thank you for the CIA. It was really cool to tell my teenage boys I joined the CIA.
Right. We do have a good acronym.
Super helpful organization. As I kind of came back to the business world after being out of it for 20 years, it's a new place and great resources. I really appreciate what you do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for saying so. Thanks everybody who joined us today, and we will see you next week. Actually, I'm off next week on vacation. Week after next week, I will see you for our member spotlight. Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.